Hello everybody, it's that college football guy here with another video. Well, yeah, a little bit of sunlight right here, but I'm down here in Tampa, Florida, just waiting to be unloaded. You may be hearing some beeping soon. We're getting my next load and supposedly doing that sometime soon. We're coming in on the Omnitrax, or the old Qualcomms, as the old truck drivers remember it as. Right now, it's scheduled preview time again, and it's time for the Miami Hurricanes, who, needless to say, had a disappointing season, going 5-7 last season. Same record as Duke. Not Duke. Georgia Tech. Duke actually had a good year. Georgia Tech had a good year for Georgia Tech. They've never been really they haven't been really a powerhouse team since 1990. But what's it going to mean now for the Miami Hurricanes? Well, schedule preview videos, if you haven't paid attention to any of these before, to let you know in on what's going on here. This isn't a prediction video. This is just a preview of what's going to be happening. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to do non-conference last year versus non-conference this year, which is tougher. We're going to go through the complete schedule last year. Where were the key games at? Were they at home or were they away? We'll go through this season's games. Were they home? Were they away? And we'll see which non-con's tougher and which total schedule is tougher, last year's or this year's. So first and foremost, let's get to the non-conference games from last season. They had four. They were home to Bethune Cookman, home to Southern Mississippi, at Texas A&M, and home to Middle Tennessee State, which was the biggest upset in college football for some people's meaning. That's that game. That was big. This year they play home against Miami, Ohio, home against Texas A&M. That's big. Home against Bethune Cookman, and at Temple. I think their schedule is going to be easier this year, non-con, because last year they played 4 games in the non-conference games. They won 2. They lost 2. They lost to Texas A&M, but they 17-9 on the road. But you play Texas A&M at home this year. You swap Bethune Cookman. You play it was home both times. They're not doing any away games. Bethune Cookman come back-to-back games, and they're both at home for Miami. You swap out Southern Mississippi for Miami of Ohio. Both are coming into Miami. Instead of being at Texas A&M, you're home to Texas A&M. Instead of being home against Middle Tennessee State, you're at Temple. I still think they have an easier non-conference schedule. But let's look at the schedule in its totality overall. All right, scores and all from last season. First game of the year, home against Bethune Cookman, 170-13. No surprise there. Home against Southern Miss, 130-7. At Texas A&M, lost 17-9. Home against Middle Tennessee State, lost 45-31. And I watched this game. That 31, they got garbage points at the end. Middle Tennessee up was like 45-17. They scored 2 garbage touchdowns in there, or 45-14. They were just beating the brakes off of Miami. They just beat them over the top all day long, and that's going to be a concern if you have secondary concerns. That's going to be a problem for Miami this coming season. Now, they had those 4 games, went 2-2. Then they had the bye week. Home against North Carolina, and you lost 27-24. At Virginia Tech, won a close game 20-14. Home against Duke, lost 45-21. Yikes. At Virginia, you won 14-12 in 4 overtimes. Seriously? 14-12 in 4 overtimes? Home against Florida State, you lost 45-3. At Georgia Tech, you won 35-14. That was a road win. At Clemson, lost 40-10. Home against Pitt, lost 42-6. Notice a pattern here. Other than Virginia Tech, Virginia, and Texas A&M, a Virginia Tech game, you say 20 games, was 27 or more all year. The points they lost, they gave up. They gave up 17 to A&M, 45 to Middle Tennessee State, 27 to North Carolina, 45 to Duke, 45 to Florida State, 40 to Clemson, 42 to Pitt. They can't stop anybody. Now, that was previous players, and it's another season of recruiting for Mario Cristobal, so we'll see how that goes. But this season's schedule, home for Miami of Ohio, home for Texas A&M, home for Bethune Cookman, at Temple, the non-cons, bye week, home against Georgia Tech, at North Carolina. Now, home against Georgia Tech, you won last year on the road 35-14. That shapes up good for you. At North Carolina, you were home to North Carolina and lost by a field goal at home. Drake May's back, so that could be a tough game for you. You're home to Clemson. That gives you a sliver of hope, but that's it. You're home against Virginia. You barely beat them on the road, 14-12 and 4 overtimes. That's going to be a competitive game. At NC State. That's going to be tough. At Florida State, you lost at home 45-3, and now you got to travel to Tallahassee. Yikes, that does not look good. Home against Louisville. That helps you a lot because playing them at home. Because if it was at Louisville, you probably get the doors blown off of you. And you're at Boston College to finish up the season. So basically, let's look at the difference here. We compared the non-cons between last year and this year. You play North Carolina again. You play Georgia Tech. You play Clemson again. You play Virginia again. You basically swapped out Virginia Tech for NC State. I'm trying to find it here. Where's the other school I missed? You swapped out Duke for Louisville. You swapped out Pitt for Boston College. Okay, last season's key games. Texas A&M, North Carolina, Florida State, Clemson, Pitt. 5 games. Those key games. You lost all 5. At Texas A&M, lost 17-9. Home against North Carolina, lost 27-24. Home against Florida State, lost 45-3. At Clemson, lost 40-10. Versus home against Pitt, lost 42-6. Your defense is a serious issue. This year's key games, we've got 5 on the schedule again. Home against Texas A&M, at North Carolina, home against Clemson, at Florida State, home against Louisville. 3 of them are at home. And the 2 road games, North Carolina and Florida State. It's a little bit better. I think the overall schedule, the non-cons, I think last year's was tougher than this year's. And I think last year's schedule was tougher than this year's for them. Because at Clemson is no joke. But you had a lot of the games at home, and now you play games on the road. North Carolina on the road, Florida State on the road. You got Clemson at home, Louisville at home, Texas A&M at home. You traveled to Texas and lost. Now Texas has to travel to Miami. A&M has to travel to Miami. So that gives you a little bit of an advantage. Hopefully Miami doesn't snooze on Temple like they did against Middle Tennessee State and get blown out. That would be rather embarrassing, wouldn't it? So I'm saying non-conference games, last year's was tougher than this year's. And overall schedule, I'm saying last year's is tougher than this year's. But let me know down in the comments what you think about this. Do you think I'm right? Which season's non-cons were tougher, last year or this year? Which schedule is tougher, last year or this year? Let me know down in the comments. So thanks everybody for watching the video. If you haven't done it already, please smash the like button, hit the thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. It helps the video to be seen by more people. Like I said before, just now, comment on the video. I want to hear what you think about Miami's schedule. And if you haven't done it already, subscribe to the channel. On the way to 400 subscribers. We're about to get there. Slowly on the crawl to get to 1,000. So hopefully we can get there soon. So thanks everybody for watching the video. It's early in the morning, but hope everyone's having a great Thursday. Be safe out there, and please be good to each other.